I just wanted to do a quick short one. You know, a lot of black people, we were raised in either Jehovah Witness or like regular Baptists, and the lesser of our numbers would be the Nation of Islam. I do believe the Nation of Islam teaches their members weapons. But when you're in Christianity, black Christianity, they really discourage weapons. It has changed over time. In the Jehovah Witnesses, no, there was no weapons. There was no joining the army. So when I left my mother's house, I joined the army because I wanted to shoot some weapons. That's just, it's weird me talking about this. I felt like being a black Jehovah Witness was like being an Amish. It's weird because we were a part of the community and not a part of the community. So, like I said, when I left my mother's house, I became weapon crazy. And at M16 is when I found God. That's a whole nother time, a whole nother video. But I had a bunch of dogs here and there. In New York City, I don't know how it is now. There's a lot of stray dogs. There was a lot of stray dogs when I was a kid in New York City, and my mother didn't know. It was five of them that were chasing me, and it just so happened I was always a fast runner. But if they would have got me, they would have killed me. And I told her that, and she goes, "Well, you just got to be more careful." It's not about being more careful. It's about you need something to protect yourself. Our people have had this bred out of them. Our people have been taught to be defenseless, and this has to change. And the Bible talks about our his people carrying weapons. So I don't know where these Christians get this wrong, that you can't have weapons. I think I'm the only one in my family. Well, no, my niece. I think she's the only one. My niece is the only one that I know of, and maybe a few male cousins that regularly engage in the Second Amendment. Everybody else is no, guns are bad, because my whole entire family is Jehovah Witness, minus me and a few people. So, and then a couple of times in my adult life, when I, even though I had a gun and a knife, sometimes I would forget. You running out of the house, you're gonna do something. And I remember I was 30, and out of nowhere, this fucking huge pit bull started running towards me, and I didn't have my gun or my knife that day, and he wouldn't leave, and I actually climbed on top of somebody's car. I felt like I thought about it. I was like, somebody could have came out and fucking shot me for doing this shit, but this dog wouldn't stop. So he eventually, I faked him out, and then I ran and ran and I ran. He finally gave up. This has happened to me a couple of times. And this one incident, this woman had a crazy dog. She lived next door, and the dog was always escaping from the yard. And that day I was victorious because he escaped out of the yard, and I shot him. I had a 22. Shot him with a 22. I carry 22. 22 will kill you. 22 will kill you. And the dog was like, "Yay!" He didn't die. And I didn't get charged. She was fucking mad at me, but he escaped from her yard and I shot him. The dog was bleeding and shit. This guy, listen, I got a lot of crazy stories, man. That dog was vicious, man. He would have ripped me. He would have ripped me. You know what I'm saying? So the bare minimum is I always carry a knife. Always. I think men and women, you need to have a knife. There's a video of an old woman. If I find it on YouTube, she actually carried a fillet knife, old white woman, and she killed two pit bulls with a fillet knife. She ain't even trained with a knife. Knives are sharp, and it's easy to kill an animal with a knife. So you got to have something. You have to have something at all times because you never know. And I remember when I was a security guard a long time ago, I used to work at a bank, and out of nowhere, here comes these two pit bulls, and they were running up on this old woman, and I had to run, and they just circled her for a little bit, and they kept on running, and out of nowhere, here come the cops. And the cops did succeed to get the noose around them, but man, people have to be aware that this can happen to anybody, anywhere, at any time. Man, woman, or child, you have to be mentally prepared for something like this. This has happened to me a lot of times in my life.